man.
Dude, it
live?
says we're
live, dude. We're live. We're live.
Hold on.
We're
We're
live on YouTube. Hey guys, we had a little bit of a moment because when I pushed the go live button, it said it won't record it unless we free up more space or purchase it. I tried to push the purchase button, but it
Will
did
they
not
buy?
work.
Can I pay for some more storage with this gold chain?
I'm guessing you can, man. You know, we didn't have the smallmouth crush intro, man, but you're looking like a bass gangster today from like your world headquarters down there at Dream Catchers Fishing.
That's
you know?
right. It's the most gangster place I've ever been in my life, bro. Dude, I kind of feel like I look like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, you probably do. So I called up Travis and I'm like, because he said he was going to have a guest tonight. I'm so like, who's the guest? And he goes, nah. And I'm like, well, I just talked to Austin, man. And so you were like, I'll come on tonight. So here you go, guys. This is the last minute Austin Neary. For those of you who don't know, it's a special guest tonight. We're doing a takeover from the Bass Lab and Dreamcatcher Studio worldwide tonight. This is the takeover edition. So we've had all of like a couple hours to plan what we're going to talk about. I thought we were going to have somebody else on tonight, and the agenda has completely shifted. So I think what we're going to do is, you know, I just came back from New York, man, spent a week up there, 3 days on Ontario with Travis, and then 3 days with Will on the St. Lawrence, St. Regis, and the Racket Rivers, which are tributaries of the St. Lawrence. And man, it was a mixed bag of largies and smallies. And I got to tell you, we got to wind on them.
I, at one point, was watching your story and listen, I think I get a lot of who I am. You know, you're a mentor to me, you know, you've been that guy since I was a little tyke.
Thank you.
Almost when I was in diapers, you know, when I start thinking about it.
Right. You were youngin', man.
I was. And I'm like, listen, I was watching your stories.
Yeah.
And legitimately at one point had to stop watching them because there was jealousy in my heart. I could not believe what I was seeing, dude.
It's crazy, right? I mean, I try to represent like what we're doing. And if I catch a special fish or, you know, I pull out something that's unexpected, I mean, that's what I like up there is to really try new things. And, you know, you don't know that they're going to be, you can wind and burn a crankbait on a stop and burn retrieve, and they're just going to mash it in a grass bed. You know, I mean, look, all the traditional techniques worked on those fish for sure. Neds and drop shots and football jigs. But I'm like, can we wind on these fish in 54, 56 degree water? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so it was really cool, man, to do that. And then go to the backwaters and get in the dirty water and catch a mixed bag back there in 3 to 5 foot. And these weren't chumps either, man. They were fun.
I have a question. Do you feel like you're at the point where you truly desire to catch them on a specific technique over like any other technique? If you're like, I could choose one technique and I could do it forever, what really?
No, man. I for me, you know me, look behind me.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it all. And I love like when the conditions presented itself, like the wind picked up, I got a little cloud cover. So I'm like, I'm going to go spinnerbait those fish, right? I'm going to throw a thumper when it got a little muddy and the wind was really chunking on this riprap bank. I'd already cranked it a little bit, you know, and the cloud cover started in. And, you know, there was a little ditch that ran along the shore with some riprap and scattered rock. It was about 3 to 5 foot, and then a grass line. So you had the open ditch running along the shore and the largemouth were stacked there. And then I'd come over a little grass and I snapped it at one point. And in this red crankbait, and I want to show you guys a little Marty Burns special that I had to make up to be painted by T.K. Stanley.
Show them the red rock.
So I snapped this crankbait and it started floating up. You know, it's got a little wobble on the rise, and I saw a largemouth just come out of the grass bed and go like 5 feet from the boat, and like, you know, and Loomis loads up and land the fish. I mean, that was extraordinary. And you know, you can see it's a micarta lip. I didn't color this one to my chagrin, TK, but this is the bait. I just literally cut it off my rod. And you know, if you're winding a micarta on rock for like a day, you're probably going to have not much of your lip. You're going to wear down the edges. But so I probably would have preferred Lexan, but this is what I had in the bag. So I went with it. But no, man, the fact that I got to like really mix up the bait selection. And then, 30 yards later, I said, you know what? This water's getting chocolate brown, man. And the waves were pushing on it and the cloud cover started. So I'm like, I'm taking out the ditch melon. So, dude, so I put a little Zoom split tail trailer on there. And I got to tell you, man, the flow on the bait is dynamite. This one's got an orange kicker blade. It's a really short, compact, hidden weight system bait. But I was just slow winding that. So the riprap ended and came to a point.
Yeah.
And the waves are kind of crashing over the shallow rocks. It's only like 6 inches, but then you could see the drop. And so I made a cast right off the edge of that, and that big largemouth of the day loaded up, man. So right there. And I caught several fish on this, but that was special.
So here's a question. I was guiding a gentleman the other day, and I'm like, hey, pick up that spinnerbait over there. And it was a spot sticker. We sell them at Dream Catchers. Good herring spinnerbait.
Yeah, man.
So he picks it up and starts firing it around. And he goes, hey, there's no trailer on it. And I said, okay, fire it out there.
Right.
Are you a big time trailer guy? I mean, I know a lot of guys, some guys like Kitech, some guys like double tail grubs. If it's muddy water and a big.
Nope. One of my favorite spinnerbaits is and everybody knows this about me. If it's a willow leaf, it's the Jackal Super Eruption, which they don't sell anymore. Unfortunately, it's out of stock, but it might be coming back. They do sell Junior. Jackal does it all the time. Why do they make a great bait and then stop making it? But we won.
Didn't I just have this conversation the other day?
We did. So I won my championship on the Upper Bay. We came in with 22-4. And at that point, that was the biggest bag I ever weighed in a tournament. I just busted that with Risby fishing last year in November 2041. And similar style pattern. But in the fall, as we all know, look, man, there's a lot of bait that pushes into the creek. These fish pour off the flats when the grass dies. They get into these channel swing banks, and you could throw any plastic you want. You'll catch the dinks. But if you upsize your bait, they're looking for the biggest bass are looking for a meal. And to me, a spinnerbait, a half ounce, does a great job of representing that. So slow rolling that Jackal. But to answer your question, I threw it without a trailer.
Really?
And yeah, every single fish that we weighed in came in on that spinnerbait. I gave one to my buddy. So 22-6. And literally you see guys cranking. There was a moment in the fall and there's a moment in the spring, I think, if you're slow rolling. And that's the way that I couldn't wind it slow enough. And they would just load up on water temp. This was late November, maybe low 50s. And that was
the super eruption. I feel bad for guys that never had the opportunity to throw that spinnerbait.
Right.
Because I would equate it to almost the feel of a chatterbait on the end of your rod.
It's a reverse teardrop blade. See that blade configuration, how they made the blade, it gives the flash of a willow and the thump of a Colorado because of the reverse teardrop. So it's not your traditional willow leaf. It had a harder thump, and you can't get that. You can't get that same flash out of a Colorado. It's just there's something magical about that bait. Who knows what it was, man? But I wish they'd bring it back. I still have like 40 left.
We had a
deal
here on the Fontana Classic. We had won this tournament, I guess two years in a row. And anyways, one of the times we did it, we were on the back of this flat, and there's all on our Highland reservoirs. They're like rising water and falling water and everything. Well, this big school of spots. There's these two big main creeks that come out of this deal. And there's these two defined ditches that are like 4 foot deeper or 4 foot deep. So you've got like a 10-foot flat, 10-foot flat, and then it drops off to like 14, 15 foot. And both these creeks meet each other and then go out to the main creek. Ooh. And dude, with that fluctuating water, all those fish were like flushed up shallow. Well, they had dropped the lake like 2 foot. Well, they dropped right all into this ditch, dude. And it was exactly like you said. I mean, it was like every cast. Super eruption, like you said, just like creeping it, and it was slack line, just it was mean, dude. And it was I'm trying to think. I don't think that you had hooked me up with those. I think we had them from an order from Jackal, but
you probably did.
We had that talk the other day, man. You remember what bait I was looking for the other day?
Oh yeah.
Should I say it?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, people get
Jackal. The Jackal Iobi frog.
Listen,
if you guys have the Iobi somewhere in your tackle box, send them to your boy, because listen,
that was a good little frog, man. It did.
It had a sway back. And that sway back, dude, I'm talking about they would be perfectly hooked in their freaking upstairs every single time. There was a deal on a lake. So something that I love to do this time of the year in our Highland reservoirs, you obviously get your first big wave of spawners, kind of that first full moon at the end of March, early April, and then that second full moon in late April, early May. And then every once in a while, you can go way, way, way up rivers where that water's cooler coming out of like these Highland creeks. And you'll get these residential largemouth that pull up super late. And we had a tournament out there on a certain lake in North Georgia. And I went way up the river and I was throwing this was back before Panoptics or anything. And I had seen a stump and it just looked like just this one clear spot. I mean, it looked like a napkin sized clear spot on the stump. I mean, it was just laying there next to the stump. And I didn't see a fish, but we're in like 4 foot of water. And I'm like, I'm going to throw that IOB over it because obviously they hate brim around their beds. It'd have been a really awkward spot for brim to be. Well, I chucked that IOB over it. And dude, I'm pretty sure one just flashed it. So I take and cast. I've never told you this story. This is ignorant. I cast this IOB. I'm walking it. And it walks so easy, that IOB.
Oh, yeah. Just it's one of the best.
Dude, I have an 8-pounder shamu this bait. Like this. Like it hit it up and fell right back down in the water. Like boom.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was probably out of the water to his pubic fin, straight up, boom, and just sunk back down. And I looked at my co-angler, like mid bite. I looked at him and I just went, boom. And he was like, I've never seen that. And then like a dang stud, I boat flipped her just because I wanted to get nasty with her, son. This is how I treat the big girls.
Oh man, I like it, man. That's a great frog, man. But I'm gonna get back to like
we got a question. Jay Henning says, what is his setup for his frog? I'm a big time Daiwa guy. I throw a Daiwa 7'4" Tatula rod. I've got a 8 3-to-1. I believe it's a Tatula. That might be a 7 3-to-1 Tatula 150. A lot of guys get really, like pick up line really fast. You need the fastest deal. But I honestly find I need a slower gear ratio because I'm trying to create torque. Like I want to torque those fish out of the cover.
Plus, you're quick like a cat, man. You're like Bruce Lee hook set.
Well, listen, I wasn't going to be the one to call myself Bruce Lee, so I appreciate that.
I mean, you snatch it before the bass even bites it.
Yeah, well, that would be terrible.
That's how quick you are, man. I've seen it.
Yeah,
it's like the bass is like the frog comes towards the boat, the bass jumps 3 seconds later. You got this karate sense about you, man.
Yeah, no doubt. So I pick up enough line with the 7.3 Tatula 150, 7'4" frog rod. I'm not one of these guys, dude. I'm gonna tell you one of the biggest.
Are you a 65-pound braid? Let's talk about that. 60 or 5, 50. What do you throw?
12-pound fluorocarbon.
Shut up. But there's a truth. There's a story we'll tell about 12-pound fluorocarbon. You guys will not believe it. And I've had a similar experience with 8-pound test on a popper in ultra clear water.
Really? I want to hear about this. But no,
17-pound test. It was a Deep Creek Lake in Maryland. I was on the boat.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, so anyways, I'm a big time Powerpro guy when I'm frogging cover. I'm not a big Powerpro guy when I'm frogging. This is going to sound weird. When I utilize a frog on my lakes, I'm not trying to imitate a frog. Like up in our Highland reservoirs, dude, we don't have frogs. Like they really don't exist.
I've really never seen a frog in a grass bed. Rarely. So what are you trying to imitate? Shad?
Shad we're trying to imitate
brim.
Bluegill. Yeah.
Baby
bluegill.
brim.
Yep. So, for me, I think about where the brim live on our lakes, and it's a lot of wood. It's honestly a lot of riprap. And for whatever reason, a frog might be just the thing that's dialed in. But the Powerpro is not, it's great on grass and aquatic vegetation. It is terrible, obviously, around like any braid is. But I actually have better success with the Daiwa 8-strand J braid. It'd be like
J8, the J8, they've got
J8
two different ones.
Fitty. Yeah.
Fitty, but so they got J8, they've got the next level up, don't they? Grand, yeah.
Grand, yeah. But
are you the Grand guy? Or no?
I can't tell a difference. I can't tell a difference. I just think it's a reason.
Grand's a little more slick. So I'll just say that about that.
Well, I can't tell the difference, but I've got no nerves in my fingers. So anyway, that's why I just
more on that later. Don't go there. It's a little too early. I know what you're about to say.
I don't think you know what I'm about to say, but
say it.
But what I was going to say though is I like the 50-pound, but I like Powerpro if I'm on like the Tennessee River and I'm trying to cut through hydrilla or or lily pads or anything. I like the 4-strand, and you can literally
the 4-strand is I think better for exactly what you just said, cutting through grass and lily pads. Honestly, it does because it's rougher. I mean, you get a slick, smooth braid, it'll still cut through, but you go to that 4-strand braid, dude, it saws through it, man.
Well,
you want
and here's
something
the thing
rough
too.
Cutting cast is nice.
I was going to say the 8-strand also skips better. You can skip it better because it has way less friction as that 4-strand. Because that 4-strand, if you're skipping it undercover, we like to throw frogs like under docks. Like, oh my gosh, I fished a tournament this weekend and I had a freaking giant sip a frog under a dock and literally not get the frog. She just come up and sipped it and missed the frog. I'm like, but anyways, that 4-strand doesn't cast as well because of that abrasion.
That's right. And the 8-strand bird nest a lot better if you're interested in that. That's another benefit of 8-strand. It gets a beautiful bird's nest in your reel if you happen to backlash.
It actually does. It's actually quite beautiful.
Actually, 50 will get you more in trouble than 65. A lot of guys like to throw the big topwater baits with 65 because if you do backlash, you got a better chance of getting 65 out than 50.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the line diameter. I think it just doesn't allow
100%. It doesn't sink all the way in. Exactly. So let me finish out this little. Let me finish out this little smallmouth cove, man, because I'm not done with it, dude. So I catch that big fish on that point, right? And then Travis takes us further in, man. I mean, he put us on so many fish; it was ridiculous, man. So we get to this part of the cove where there are cattails. And there's a rocky area off the point, but now we're moving into the bay, right? So we fished a riprap and there's an opening. You go into the bay and the wind is really pushing on this bank. And so at one point, Travis sees a little muskrat on the bank, man. He goes, I hate muskrats. And he casts his lure right and almost hits the muskrat on the bank. I was laughing, man. He always is seeing wildlife that I'm not looking at. So anyway, I pick up my little hot mama chatterwagon. And I got to tell you, man, I like to throw a crawl style trailer because there was grass there. This is a 1/2 ounce, by the way. And the crawl style trailer, this is the Chigger Crawl. It's one of my favorite trailers. You guys have seen me throw this in videos with Travis. It's made by Berkeley. It's got taste. It's got scent. This is not a max scent one. It's just the regular power bait one, but the 3-inch. It's my favorite swim jig trailer when I'm swimming grass on my home rivers. Works in New York. You've seen me catch some studs on it. But I paired the Hot Mama, which is orange red, with the black and blue because that water was so dirty. A lot of people think you got to be matchy, but I'll throw black blue with green pumpkin, mix it up because it just allowed this thing to really show up in the dirty water. So caught a couple good ones, started to see some, and Travis is flipping a jig. He's catching them too. And then I found a pocket within the cattails and those fish were right on the bank and caught the largie of the day on that, man. Just flushed the toilet on it, man. So I caught several good largies on that, but that is a hard thumping. It's not a jackhammer. It's a collab bait that me and Gary Sheets make. And I've, in honor of all the baits that I threw this weekend that were 9K Elite and Bass Lab collabs, I'm putting the Blades of Fury box together, which I've only got 10 available tonight. And this special run colors in it and other special run colors. I want to dial back because that was the end of the day. And then the last fish of the day was actually, I get my days mixed up there. So forgive me if I do, but I'm really proud of this because I tied this in the shop, man. That's the Everlasting Drop Shutter. Sports a Gamakatsu B10S Stinger. I've had 2 different fly tires tie this for me. Brian's Custom Tackle. And now a guy, Eric Ezel out of Jackson Hole, but it's marabou, round silicone, indestructible tail, a little bit of flash boo, but this is a ridiculous bait and it catches largies and smallies. I caught a stud largemouth to end my day and paired it up with just a little 1/4 ounce drop shot. I even think I might have seen that fish on the live scope. I'm not sure. I think that's the only one I might have caught on the live scope. I have such a hard time figuring out what's a fish, what's not. Travis the expert, so normally I'm just blind casting, but that was pretty cool, man. I also threw a couple of other crankbaits I want to show you because this one's from TK Stanley and Marty Burns. These aren't available. I think TK sold these on a drop and they're gone, but it's a round build lip. It's a way wider thumping, but they responded to that bait too. That was on the second day we went there. And then this other little perch style bait, of course, that's a great color for smallies, man. Anything with chartreuse in it. And you notice I got the red Gamakatsu number 5.
Does it make a difference?
Well, it's gold. It starts to become gold, and I do believe it's. And if I believe it, it's true, because that's really all that matters. Honestly, it's a confidence thing in fishing, right? I like when they start to chew the paint off, because now I get a little bit of gold. And I think all bass love something gold and shiny. So it's the concept of hook as a target in a attractor. Why do we throw feathered trebles as an attractor? And feathered trebles have a little mylar or flash boo or crystal flash and feathers that add secondary action and movement. So look, man, do what you want, throw red or not, I don't care. I like to throw it. I'm not trying to sell anybody on a red number 5 round Bengami, but it's one of my favorites. And there's the bronzy on the back. So if I give them a target, I want them to eat the front of the bait, not the back. So, and there were a lot of fish that had that front hook in them. So, man, that was the crankbait session. And I'm going to give you one more tip, man. This little thing right here is a hook hone. I carry this with me. There is so many times where, and this is the other little Bass Lab creation I threw, which is pretty cool, man. I tied it up in the Bass Lab. I tied the one I lost in black and blue. In ultra clear water, I didn't think black and blue would work for smallmouth. I know black works, but I was suspect on the blue. They ate it great. And I paired it up with, oh my God, this thing worked fantastic. We've had them on the show before. I don't know if he even sells them anymore, but it's the Nico Zaza Leech. It's like Z-Man material, high float. But that joker on the back of this, or Will's Gajo Ned stick, or anything you want to put on the back, was a freaking good looking meal to those fish. So it's just a really sparsely tied. You see my little crystal flash in there because I'm a crystal flash fool, but tied finesse. But there would be a lot of times I'd be in rock, be snagged, and literally, Austin, I would take the hook point and I would go, and it was just dragging across. There was no point left. I'd bend it. So instead of throwing it away, man, I would just drag that hook hone across it a couple times, sharpen up my hooks. I could do it on my crankbaits, my spinner baits, my chatter baits. Dudes, word to the wise, this $5 thing will save your ass in a tournament or make your day better. Always check your hooks, especially if you're cranking, winding around rocks. You will bend a hook point, or you will make it. It's going to be dull at the end of the day. Catch a lot of fish, sharpen it, man. It only takes like 3 passes. Be disciplined. This little $5.95 thing is money, and it's a diamond file one. Those are the ones I like. It's got little grooves.
You got to have a diamond file.
Yeah, I agree, man. Diamond file is the best, man. Is the best.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in hooks. I don't care what it is. I'll tell you what bait. I mean, you and I got to do that deal, the Clash 9. When you're cranking that thing down, your front freaking hook on those trebles. It doesn't matter if it's the tiny Clash in the rock,
right,
or you're dealing with the Clash 9. It is absolutely miserable how fast.
It is.
I mean, especially cranking, because you're talking about small treble hooks. A lot of times you're talking about outside the face, outer mouth. You got to have them where they're penetrating and keeping them hooked. I mean, man, I've had a lot of bad fish losses. I'm sure you have too. Everybody has.
There's no doubt. You check those hooks and you'll find out. JP has a great question. So JP Harrow, when do I prefer using a crawl style trailer on the back of a bladed jig versus a Zacho style trailer? And it's exactly what I was talking about earlier. If there is a lot of grass present and I want to float the bait, a crawl style trailer floats the bait. That particular bladed jig, because of the way Gary modified the mold, he uses the adjuster, as Barracuda would say. That's Cuda from Jig Squad. The adjuster will get your mold right. That bait has a lot of hunting action. So even when I put the crawl trailer on, it doesn't kill the hunting action. I still got a lot of hunt out of it, but it floats the bait. So A, over grass. B, if I'm trying to imitate a crawl, obviously, right? So if I'm imitating a shad and a more open water, and of course I'll fish the Zacho and grass as well, man, if I'm really snapping grass. But if I want to float it versus, different types of forage, different types of cover. Wood, I'd be throwing, no question, because chatterbaits are horrific. They roll hard. And so do spinner baits, not the one I make, because that little river rat's got that hidden weight system, super balanced. It doesn't have a tendency to roll, but all chatterbaits roll. There is the one that, I put in some professor packs that is made for coming through wood. It's a Nori's. It's the Hula Chat. It's a bad bitch. And I did discover one more bait that I'm going to save for a Patreon because Travis requested I do. And it was part of my personal. Travis pointed this out as I was talking late in the day. I showed the scale. It was 31.96. Started out the day with a 6.8, then followed up with a 6.11. And his scale's a little light, so but it was 31.96 on a scale. So
it
that's
might as well have been a 40-pound bag of smallmouth.
Only a couple ounces light, man. But that was those 5 smallmouth were fish that I caught. That Travis obviously took me to the areas, but what made me proud was what I threw to catch them. And one of the baits was something I've never thrown before. But I brought a largemouth style trailer to the party. So this bait plus a largemouth in one of my favorite colors will be on the Patreon at some future point. I think it's a great search bait. You can cover a lot of water. I threw it in anything from a foot to 6 foot, and they ate it and tracked it down. And I'm talking plus size smallies. We also had a segment where Travis and I threw the big baits. Travis threw the Depths 250 slow sinking. I threw his Gangcraft 178 and perch, and his Depths 250 on average would have 2 to 3 mega smallies following it. He was frustrated that he couldn't trigger the bite. You could have triggered the bite maybe, but what are the most difficult conditions to throw a big bait in? I'm asking you, big bait master.
Yeah, so that is
I'll give you, it's about 12 o'clock in the day.
Yep.
Bright sun.
Yep.
0 wind.
Yeah. So
on a flat that was like 4 foot deep.
So I'll tell you this. I've had them absolutely smash a swim bait when it's calm, clear, and sunny. And I've had them absolutely do what you just experienced, which is just follow it. Sometimes, Ben Milliken and I talked about it quite a bit, talking about how sometimes the fish are just in a negative mood. Whether that be, just a barometric pressure thing, maybe it's a weather pattern thing, whatever it is. But what I tend to notice is you do need a little bit of wind. That helps. I think it helps everything. But what I've noticed is
for sure.
If you can get them in an aggressive mood, this is something that I always think about. If it's a grind for you, it's probably a grind for everybody, right? I tend to think that. I'm like, all right, like I know my talent, like I'm a guide, I'm on these lakes all the time. Like if I'm having a hard time getting bit, it's probably hard to get bit. But if the fish seem pretty aggressive and getting after it, that's when I probably need to pick up a big bait because I'm going to be targeting bigger fish. And a lot of times wind naturally just stirs everything up and gets them rolling. But yeah, I would say that's probably the hardest condition is bright bluebird skies with 0 wind, slick calm. That is pretty tough.
Right. I agree. And that's what it was. And that's what I told him. Look, I'm no big bait expert. I've spent some time with it. I spent time with you throwing it. Spent a lot of time with Keith Wilson throwing it. And there are days where you 0 on it. You throw it for 8 hours. And when I've seen that happen to Keith, it was cold front in Florida, negative mood. And then I've seen days where they're just smashing it. And every day is different. And some days are 1 or 2 bites. And some days you're catching giants and many bites, right?
There's days where you have many bites. I mean, you and I had a day where, what'd we have? I think we caught 20 some fish over 5 pounds.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
One of the best probably cast to catch days, maybe on the Tiny Clash that I've ever seen on YouTube. Oh, Clash 9, sorry. 9. Yeah. And in what? Rainbow and your brown trout that's coming out.
Yeah. On the brown
one day. What's the status on that, bro? Do we know?
The status is DRT has a small factory in Japan that is so small, it's a little ridiculous. Yeah. So it's hard for them to just mass produce everything. But I had to bring one out for the show.
Oh, baby.
That's the dream catcher's brown trout. And if you guys have ever been to the Ozarks or you've been to Western North Carolina, North Georgia, upstate South Carolina, that's the booger they're stocking in all of our lakes because they actually want to try to control the herring population because they're so aggressive. But they just take over the lake. So the brown trout are actually super feeders. So they try to keep the herring population at bay. But yeah, I lost the one of the originals. This is one of 2 current baits out there. I'm sure they actually have another one at DRT Japan ready to paint, but that's the bag girl, man. She put a mega bag in the boat. That was a lot of fun.
No, she did, man, and she put a giant in the boat for Mike Powers, right? Probably biggest
Mike Powers
on film.
Biggest cast to catch on film in North Carolina history was on a DRT Clash 9 brown trout, 11.5 pounder. Yeah, 11.5 pounder, just the absolute freakzilla of a fish, man. I mean, God, you're talking about New York, and I'm like, dude, if I could own a house in 2 places, it would be Texas to chase giant largemouth, and it'd probably be upstate New York to chase around those giant smallmouth, man.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I'd love to be out there on a day where the big bait bite was on. I threw the Huddleston when I was the Huddleston hollow body when I was with where did I put that, man? I thought I cut it off my rod just to show everybody. I got to go get one in the pack, but it's the hollow body HUD 68, and it's in a French pearl color. Let me tell you something. Do you know that they started making the hollow body 68? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I threw it on an 8. I threw it on an 8-aught, but I probably should have had a 10. But I was actually trying to catch a smallie, so I'm thinking, how's he going to get the bait and the 10-aught hook in his mouth? So I downsized. I had one smallie T-bone it from the side and push it like 2 feet. And you can see it.
Gosh.
I mean, I watched it happen. It was crazy. But what was going on was those smallies were bedding. The smallies on Will's water, I saw probably a 7. I let that HUD sit in that bed. Was getting him pissed and angry. He was biting, nipping. A lot of fish were nipping it, biting it, slacklining it. But you'd wait for that. You'd wait for him to load up, and they just never loaded up. Yeah. Now in the backwaters with that largemouth, I missed a pike for sure because it had some razor marks in it. But that largemouth, which was a stud, absolutely demolished it. So that was a cool catch for me, man. I really enjoyed it. Comes through the grass great. Throwing on 20-pound test, man, with a 7.6 medium heavy. So it was a fun moment for me to get a big bait fish up in New York. I got to show you guys one more thing because I'm proud of this little thing.
Come on,
so let's just. I want you guys to picture this. So you're on the front of your boat. Let's say you're in the back of the boat. Anyway, you're on the Great Lakes. It's windy, and you're drop shotting or you're Ned rigging or you're doing something, and you break off. And the bite is hot. The last thing you want to do is have to get off the trolling motor, walk down in the well, open a compartment, get out a Ned head or a drop shot weight or a drop shot hook. So I came up with this little thing this is my little speed pack. So man, see, I got the label wacky on there. Can you see wacky on there? There it is.
That.
I put my little sticker on it, and I got it labeled on top, so I know what's up. I stick them in my pocket. Look what I got. There's a little secret compartment back here, and some people will recognize what this is. But these are my little wacky weights, and I've shared this tip on MonsterBass because they feature me in the bait hacker section. Does anybody know what that is? It is not something you buy. Not something you buy in a tackle store. It's got a little head.
It looks like a drill bit. What is that?
That's a carpet. That's a carpet drive screw nail, and it absolutely holds. I like it. Comes in gold and silver. They actually make it in brass. So if I'm trying to imitate a bluegill with a green pumpkin or watermelon sink, I'll put the gold. And if it's a shad, I'll put the silver one because they make in gold and silver. So I have just enough back there, and then in the main compartment, I got my wacky hooks, weighted wacky, weedless wacky. Small ones underneath that, man. So just enough for a day, just enough for a tournament. That's the sound of money right there because you want to be efficient on the water. So I stick those in my pocket. So if I'm doing 2 techniques, let's say I know I'm going to be doing a lot of netting, drop shotting, or wacky rigging. Hell, I can put 4 of these in my pocket, man. And it's just like, boom, take it out. I'm back in the game as fast as I don't have to step off the deck, open a compartment in waves. I'm just rigging up right there on the spot. So anyway, man,
that's pretty great, dude.
Those are pretty cool, right? I gave a couple of these to two little kids that were part of the Mohawk Nation. I hooked them up with some lures last year. I hooked them up with more lures this year. I gave them a weedless Huddleston minnow, and within 10 minutes, the kid had a giant northern pike on. And I got a little video of it. I didn't post it because I didn't want to post a video of a kid without asking his mom permission. But the next day before I left, she hit me up on Instagram, and she's like, I want to give you a gift. So she gave me and my wife a handmade basket, and they made a really cool Native American lanyard for me. That I'm going to put down here in the Bass Lab, man. But that's the magic of fishing, man. You meet a lot of people, and you could share the lures and knowledge and technique, and that's what turns me on about, streaming on Smallmouth Crush. So thank you, Travis, again for letting me take over the show tonight and do it, man. I hope you guys get to see some really, really cool footage. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I got to show, man. Oh, this is the other thing I want to show. One more thing I want to. This is a tip for everybody. So I showed you guys the sharpening thing, but look, man. This is a Z-Man football head. I know everybody's all a Twitter about the Ned head, but if you're throwing in rocks, that look how much I dragged that thing through. It won't focus, but you can see I was wearing the paint off it, man. And this is the Gajo Ned stick. And I'll give you one more tip. I showed it on my story, and I think I might have done a little video for Will, but he showed me this tip, and why he made this segmented is for this purpose. So you saw me rigging it straight, right through the middle. Not weedless, but you could do this thing Texas. So I basically come through the top of the worm, just like I would Texas rig something, right? And what's cool about this is see how that hook point lines up right there in that segment? It allows me to stick the hook point through. And so you could fish that joker kind of exposed, if you will, and you have a much more productive day. So that's his green pumpkin blue highlight. I rigged it upside down, but that's a bad little color right there. Oh my gosh, got some copper flake in there. Anyway, man, that's the Gajo Ned, weedless with the Z-Man football head. I'm in love with that little football. Pretty
nifty.
And that little hook is a bad dude, man. You can lay wood. What are the sixes came on that? What? Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
That's sick. Hey, I'll tell you a little tackle hack that I just recently did that I think makes a huge difference. So what do you do currently? I just have a question. What do you do when you're like, oh man, I've got the wrong line on this rod and I need to put maybe 12-pound fluorocarbon on and there's 15-pound mono or something? What do you currently do?
Right. Wait, I wasn't listening. I was reading the comments. Repeat the question, please.
Okay. So what happens if you've got like 12-pound fluorocarbon on a rod and you're like, dang, I need to, for whatever reason, switch to like 25-pound braid? Do you currently have a solution for that?
Extra spool?
Bro, I just ordered 25 extra spools. I don't know if guys are doing this or not.
You have to.
You have to. If guys aren't doing this, listen, order yourself some extra spools of your favorite reel. I ended up switching all of my reels to Tatula 150s to really simplify myself. I'm like, listen, I think a 7-3-1 and a 6-3-1 are plenty enough fine for basically every technique under the sun. And anyways, I just ordered 25 extra spools for all those reels, dude. And is the best thing I've ever done.
That makes so much sense. It really does. I mean, just like I said, I have found, in my opinion, this is for all you co-anglers out there, I have found what I think is the ultimate tackle backpack. It used to be the spider wire bag, but they stopped making that. So, and I beat them up. I got holes in them. Shit was falling out because, I put them through the test. But if you're a traveling angler, and it's the other thing is you guys have seen me buy these plastic zip bags on Amazon. I turned Travis onto them. Then Travis one-upped me and found some better ones. So now I'm using the ones that he's got. I can fit so much tackle in here. I'm so dialed in and organized. I want to do like just a little Instagram. This is my travel setup. Just the way that I've got it with the little rings with the plastics hanging off, man. I'm speed dialed in, man. I'm fishing so efficient, and I've got multi-purpose rods and reels.
Do you think that like, so you used to have multiple bass boats? I've been in all of your bass boats at some point in time.
That's right. I got no bass boat now.
Now you have no bass boat. Do you think your efficiency level went to like a different height through being a co-angler?
100%, because I'm forced to economize. I'm forced to go. I can't bring it all. So I have to bring go-to, and I have got to be ready. You know, look, if I'm fishing a tournament with Scooter, I've got some idea what I might be walking into. But this year, we haven't practiced yet for a tournament. We've just been showing up to try to qualify for these champions. Right. We've come in third. We've won one. We could have won another one, but we didn't fish clean. And that's just the way it goes. But this is the first time this week for the Cat Championship that I'll actually have a couple days of practice. Now, I do have my truck with me, so I've got a lot of extra in my truck. But I generally know based on time, season, like when I went up north to go fish with Will and Travis, look, I know I'm going to be netting. I know I'm going to be drop shotting. I know I'll be dragging a jig around, right? But I also wanted to try things. So I brought a crankbait rod for a light, you know, little flat sides like you saw. I used my Loomis new IMX Pro chatterbait rod. I'll throw a spinnerbait on it just as much as a chatterbait. It's 16 pounds. So I've got one rod that does two things. I can also throw a big square bill on that rod with 16-pound test and wind the hell out of those fish, right? Obviously got a couple flipping sticks, and that's about it, man. That's all I need. So 3 spinning rods, you know, and I'm good to go, man. And maybe 4 crankbait rods. You know, I'm good. Not crankbait rods, but you know, stuff I wind stuff on. Chatterbait, spinnerbait, casting. Thank you very much.
Then are you
that's what they call those.
Yeah, casting. Are you bringing those extra spools just in case you're like, oh crap, it's something else or whatever?
I haven't bought them yet, but I've been thinking about it. It's so crazy that you just mentioned it, because when you posed the question that I wasn't listening to the first time, I knew the answer, because in my brain, I'm going, damn, I'm showing up with 5-pound braid to fish in New York, because Travis has got me convinced, because I always used to throw 10. And then I'm going, damn, I got to use another spinning rod to go fish with Scooter, because I'm having up to 10, even though I'm fishing finesse.
And you're like, I just need an extra spool.
Right. I don't need an extra rod and reel.
Instead of wasting $25 a line every time you're freaking going somewhere.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Or if I'm fishing straight braid because I'm on a tidal river somewhere and I'm throwing straight 20 or 30, because it doesn't matter. Those fish are going to eat it. You know, I'd have a 20 or 30 pound spool. So I'd have my 10 to 15, you know, 4 spools would be great to throw on that, you know, Loomis rod that I've got. And
let me get to a couple of these questions real quick. Jamie Juice Newton, JJ New says spare spools, both spinning and bait casting. I saw one. It says, let's see, where do you get spools? I would say if you have a local retailer that's like a pro shop like Dreamcatchers is, we're a Shimano dealer, we're a Daiwa dealer, we deal with them all. Go to your local dealer and say, hey, I want to do these, and they should be able to talk to a sales rep and do a special order for those spools. That's what we do. We do it all the time for handles for guys. Like some guys step on really nice reel handles and bend them, and I've got a special order parts. But any like dialed in pro tackle shop, or literally give us a call at Dreamcatchers Fishing Supply. You can find us on Google, Dreamcatchers Fishing Supply. We can order all that stuff. So
that's cool, man.
Yep. Yep. And then I saw another question right here by JP says, what size lines Austin prefer on the Tiny Clash? A lot of Japanese guys go as light as 15-pound. Yo, I have got to tell you, I have never really committed to a Tiny Clash until the last couple days, or honestly, like this year. I have focused so heavily on that Clash 9, and dude, it has opened up a whole mystery in my mind to the Tiny Clash for multiple reasons. One, back to the versatility of the Clash baits. You know, you can put the lip in, you can take the lip out, flip the tail, different tails, whale tails, V tails. There's some things I want to do with the Tiny Clash that I'm like, my brain is absolutely spinning. But for the most part, I'm throwing 17-pound on my Tiny Clashes. And then I'm throwing 20-pound on all my Clash 9s. Does it make that big a difference? I'm not sure, but I think the little bit of smaller line diameter, I want that Tiny Clash when I'm walking it to achieve some depth. With that little bit of thicker 20-pound fluorocarbon, I don't feel like it allows the bait to get as much depth. So I'm trying to use a little bit thinner line. Sure. I would honestly go as thin as 15. But the other thing is how I'm fishing the Tiny Clash. I'm around so much cover, and I'm usually, if I'm cranking it, I'm around riprap or wood. So I don't want to go so light as to where the fish can, you know, drive me. Because once again, if you're using a lighter line, you're relying more on your drag. If you're relying more on your drag, a fish can drag you into the brush or around the rocks. So I don't like to go too light. A lot of times I'm trying to winch these fish in and get them in the boat. But anyways, I do think I've gone 20 with my tiny clash. I don't have a problem with it, but this weekend I definitely saw benefit to throwing 17 pound on it. But
nice.
what I want to do with the tiny clash is I'll show you some things that like I do. I'm not kidding. I'd like have very rarely thrown this bait for whatever reason.
The tiny,
dude, I've like never thrown it. Like I've always I've gotten so many bites on the Clash 9. I've never needed to throw the tiny. Like you've seen how many fish we catch on this thing. Like,
yeah. Yeah, for sure, man.
To me, the tiny targets, I catch way more fish on the tiny Clash, and they tend to be smaller. So I'm like, I don't even have time to deal with the small fish. Let me just go for bigger bites. But what I want to do is, one, I want to throw the transfer tail in it.
Yeah, you like that better. It doesn't hang up as much for the average guy.
Well, no, the deal with the transfer tail is,
dude, the transfer is so much easier to walk.
It is. It swims. It swims.
Oh,
it makes
for sure.
Swim like a Seville almost. Very
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, but the other thing is,
but I noticed it doesn't turn around on itself with the hook getting hung on the front if you're not really watching.
Oh, what you were saying, yes. Like that. Yes.
That transfer tail solves that problem. Also changes the action.
Does.
Yeah.
You won't get as hard side to side as you do with that pointed tail, but it definitely helps you not foul. But the other thing I want to do is I want to add a lot of weight to that chin, because this bait sits really high. Even when I say sits really high, I can walk it and get it down to maybe like 8 inches under the water, maybe a foot. Yeah. I kind of want to get this thing down to 2 or 3 foot, because that's where I was seeing some of the docks I was fishing this week. Because, in the Highland reservoirs, a lot of floating docks, they're fluctuating lakes, whatever. The docks, they're under the water a foot, and I was walking that bait and I wasn't actually achieving the depth I needed to. And they were 100% on a smaller glide bait or chop style bait, whatever. And because it's a tiny clash, or because it's a clash, what are they? They're slow floats. So they almost like suspend, but actually kind of slowly rise. Where like a resin bait would have actually sunk a little bit, and I could have fished for those fish. Dude, I don't even have any smaller baits to target those fish. So I'm like, dang it. I want to utilize the choppiness and crazy action of the tiny clash, but I just couldn't get it to the depth I needed to as a walking bait.
Have you tried just using lead on the hook hangers, man?
I did, and because that hook wants to swing, it gives that action a little bit. Because do you see what I'm saying? Because it's not centralized weight on the body of the boat. The weight is here, so as you're walking it, it doesn't give it a very patternable action.
Sure. Are you putting the weight on the chin or in the middle?
I'm going to try and put the weight on both the chin and mid chest. But I want that bait to almost suspend, and I'm even okay with having it like, I'd really like it first to suspend. Slow sink. Yeah.
Are you using golf lead tape, or are you going to use those shitty suspend strips?
I'll probably use golf lead tape. Yeah. The suspend strips, they're kind of They're not
man.
Fantastic.
What's wrong with them things? No, so man.
The G guard, Austin, is worth getting for the TK and K9. I know you like pitching those big baits sometimes, and I'm telling you, really keeps that bait from snagging at all. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I really don't have a problem snagging the baits. I mean, they really, as long as they have that lip in them. Have you noticed they're a lot like a square bill?
Yeah, they bounce off that cover, man.
Oh, totally. So I've never really had a problem with hanging up. But do you remember the time the Clash 9 got hung up? And the water was rising at this certain spot and literally swept the rod away from me. I lost my whole Clash 9 and rod setup and everything. And then the next day I went back and we found it. Did I ever tell you it was on rope? That's why we couldn't unhang it. We got all of them unhung all day.
That's crazy. Yeah. Not that one.
Not that
dude,
one.
That was a crazy moment. Just the way I thought you were going in the water head first. Trying to get that bait. Swift current. It was scary.
Yeah, that
boat
was
control.
Really
yeah. But if
I'd have went in, I would have probably have died
for sure. for sure.
It was ripping some serious CFUs.
Yeah, and I was holding the boat, and Dustin was holding your legs.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
Yeah, you had me controlling the boat. I'm in charge of the boat, and Dustin's holding your body.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of control, I saw someone in the comments earlier say, "Do you miss having your own boat because of the control factor?"
No, I don't, because here's why, man. I love having all that space. I will find an angle and a way to catch a fish behind anybody. And that's not being cocky. That's just being straight, because you have to. And if I got all pinched out, like, you can't, I would look, man, as long as I'm working with you as a team and you're not the pro and I'm the Joe, that's why I don't want to do tournaments, because I don't want to get on the boat and not be able to cast where I want. But if we're team tournament fish, as long as I'm not screwing you up, man, I'll find an angle, man. I'll fit it in. I'll find a way. I'll time the cast. Look, if you're running riprap parallel, I might be like right on it, but that's okay. I'll figure out something else to do so we're both productive. I might take the outside edge, you know what I mean, and figure out what depth are they at, what depth, speed, cadence do they want. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention on the cranking, this is just a great thing because you're talking about the clash and wear and depth, because this is a good depth conversation. Let me add to the depth conversation. So I started cranking first when we got on the smallmouth bite. Before I got to those largemouth, I'm like, you know what? We're in a grass bed. And there was a nice little ripple on the water, good sunshine, man. This a little bit later in the day, like 1, 2 o'clock. So I just started throwing a crankbait, and I actually threw this color first. And man, I started out with my worming technique because the water's still in the 50s, right? Yeah. So, I basically reel it to depth, pull it with the rod, stop, pull it with the rod, stop, pull it with the rod. Caught a few fish doing that. But as I started to wind a little bit and snap the grass off that I would get caught in, I noticed they wanted the bait move faster. So then we started, and Travis was just doing a steady retrieve, not getting bit. And then we both started burning, and we started getting really bit. It was a burn, stop. And I mean, you'd go to like engage that reel again, and they would just, it's like they were there. It's like this thing's going and stopping, and he's like, and as soon as that bait wants to move, he goes, and it's just like, you go, you just lean it. Is there a better bite than a full load on a crankbait stick or spinnerbait or chatter? There isn't. And so Travis, I had him quoted saying it was the best smallmouth crankbait bite he's ever experienced. That's pretty cool. Now, he was throwing different crankbaits. I certainly would have shared a Marty Burns if he wanted, but or TK.
Eric,
I had other crankbaits.
Were you in a boat wreck?
No. When was I in a boat wreck?
I don't know. Pete Jablowski.
Oh, you're talking about like on Martha's Vineyard? Yeah, I was in a boat wreck. I'll tell that story in a minute. I want to finish the story. So then I was at Will's, same thing, dude. They were loading up on my spinnerbait, and they were loading up on this crankbait. And why I'm really proud is because I painted this original version, and I painted on a Killer B2, and I call it my Rusty Crawl. And I also painted on a Man's Thin Man, lost the biggest upper bay fish of my life in a tournament, but still caught a 6'3". How big do you think it was? In the 8-pound class range, in the net. Wow. The net broke. The neck broke because they were crabbing with the net that week. Put a bend in it, bent it back. Johnny Ingram goes to pull the fish into the boat, and the hoop falls back into the water with my fish in it. The fish is out. The crankbait stuck in the net. That was in a tournament. Later that day, dragging a lizard around with a 1/4-inch sinker, caught a 6.33. That was the fish of the year, which is cool. So I got big fish on ours all year. But they throated that. So this is what I call my Rusty Crawl. And it's basically TK reimagined it. And TK always takes my patterns into the next level, like my June bug. And, he just puts his special style on it. Yeah. But I love a school bus yellow crankbait. That's school bus yellow underbelly. And that's got a little bit of hot orange on a brown shoulder, a dark brown to black back, and an orange belly. And I'm telling you, I watched a smallmouth, and he was in the 6-pound range. Literally, as I'm worming it, stopping and pulling, and I stopped it right by the boat, and same thing, a smallmouth, just like the largemouth on the red crankbait, came out of like 6 foot and went right in front of me. So the fight was on, and I was winding on 10-pound test, and I really like winding mono. I've been winding some mono lately, man, and it's pretty cool.
Why is that?
I love how supple and soft it is. It's a precision wound mono. And precision wound is they don't wind it hairy-carry over each wrap. So you get a perfectly round, because each strand, when they wind it from the factory, is next to the other. So it comes off the spool perfect and perfectly round. It doesn't stay that way on your rod. So if I'm cranking shallow and I'm not trying to achieve more depth, because I love getting mono off of a snag, and you do get snag when you crank. I have much more success snapping it. If I happen to have an overrun, I don't get a kink in my line where you break the line. You got a weak spot now. Mono's just really forgiving, man. And I love the stretch of it. Believe it or not, when I got a shard hook, I don't miss them. If they eat it, I'm getting them into the boat. I'm hooking up.
Did you hear is it Todd Auten? He was talking about, you know, how a lot of guys are using parabolic rods to chatterbait, but he was talking about how he uses a fast action rod, but to make up for that kind of parabolic action that he doesn't have in his fast action rod, he's been chatterbaiting with monofilament.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you have to have a rod that's going to work with the line. It all has to work together, right? So,
of course.
The reason I want to tell the depth speed was that burning thing. You were talking about your TK. So it's from big baiting to crank baiting, depth, speed, and cadence.
Yeah.
Depth, speed. So you can burn, but the cadence part, you could just burn it the whole way in. That's speed. But the cadence part is, am I stopping it? And am I popping it after I stop it? Cadence. Think about cadence or rhythm or whatever you want, action that you're giving a little sauce, you know. So it all of that matters, man. You got to figure out how they want the bait presented, and keep repeating that to yourself.
I'm always for, like, you think about why fish bite, right? You said it's a change in speed, a change in sink rate, and a change in direction. Those are the three reasons. So a lot of times, I think a lot of people, they just kind of aimlessly cast and reel, and they're just like, oh. But you have got to create either a speed change, a direction change, or a sink change in order to get bit. So, I mean, very, very rarely am I ever just freaking straight retrieving a bait. I'll tell you where it has really came into play.
Well, what would be slow rolling your spinner bait? On that slow roll, and you may put a little bit of a hitch in it, a little stop, you know. Certainly if you hit cover, it's going to do something, right? You know, sometimes that little hitch that you could put in a chatterbait or a spinner bait, that little pop, it'll get that skirt flaring, that little trailer doing its thing. But, you know, so those would be the scenarios if you're slow rolling, you're not trying to put a lot of action, colder water, fish are inactive. But when they're active, and I mean, a lot of English on a bait sometimes. I think about the time that I wore them out at Duckett's Pond, the golf course pond near the bridge, right across from the country club up where we used to live, where I still live, where you used to live. That little pond was a farm pond. I used to take a Rapala minnow up there, the little 2-hook model, gold or silver, depending upon cloudy or sunny. And dude, I would have to come up with a different cadence to trigger those fish. And sometimes it was like fiendish. And the day that I was with Travis up on Will's Water, I'm throwing a jerkbait, but I'm throwing the what's that called, man? It's the shad one that Mega Bass makes. Is it Mega Jackal? What I got it right there. Anyway, I was throwing it on literally a worming rod, and he's throwing on a regular jerkbait rod, and he's throwing the oh my gosh, what's the most popular jerkbait ever made? It's the not the Vision 110, it's a smaller one, like a 78. I know you know it.
Lucky Craft?
Yeah, Lucky Crafts, 78. Come on. What is
it? The 78 SP?
Yeah. What is it? What is the name of it? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
come on. Not the bevy shad, not the bevy crank.
Oh god.
Anyway, he's throwing on a regular jerkbait rod. I literally only had a worm rod with me, and it was like a medium heavy Loomis. And it was straight fluorocarbon.
A pointer, dude. A pointer. Thanks, Gators Adventures.
Lucky Craft pointer. Right. Now I'm throwing a different style bait with a little bit of a secondary action, but I truly believe I was snapping that thing so hard and putting so much action because my rod had no give. They were absolutely jamming it. Be like jerk baiting with braid. And think about how hard, if you were jerking the same way you jerk a jerk bait with fluorocarbon on a jerk bait rod, what would that bait be doing? But has anybody ever experimented with it? It was just dumb luck. And I absolutely wore those fish out. Now, the next day, he caught them better than I did. I was using the same freaking jerk bait. He was using the same jerk bait. but they wanted it different that day. It is true. It was truly an experience. Literally same run, same area. I scorched him. I was out catching him 5-1. The next day was out catching me 5-1. And it was weird, man. 2 different days, 2 different attitudes, same weather pattern, same water temp. There was no cold front that came through. It was just a different day. It's so cool, man. That's the magic of fishing, man. Figuring it out.
Crap like that, though, just boggles your mind.
It does. It does. I'm throwing on a spinning rod. He's looking at me like, you're throwing a jerkbait on a spinning rod? I'm like, yeah, man. Rodney Blackwood said it was good.
Dude, so I was like, I'm pretty sure Mark Zona jerkbaits with a spinning rod.
Well, I think he's come around to see the merit in it. Now, you got to have the right jerkbait rod, because I jerkbaited up there one year with him, and I could not snap it hard. I was throwing with like I don't know, some mega bass thing. I bought the wrong rod. It was super light. I got my ass kicked. It was hysterical, you know. I personally, that is my least favorite lure to throw, because only because listen to why.
It's like the most fun bait ever.
Okay, I know you like it, right? I got it. It's just a personal thing, man. It's just a personal thing.
Come on, lean on me.
No, it's just like, I don't have a limber wrist. There are dudes, like, I watch Bob Cherry jerkbait. Like, my wrist, I must have got it jammed in football. I played quarterback, man. I got this thing busted up so many times throwing into people's helmets. And, you know, I played free safety, and I'd lay the wood, man. I'm mean in football. And so I don't know if I busted it up, but some people, you know, just got flap slap. Thank you, 513. I was throwing the flap slap. Anyway, dude, I don't got it. And so I'm working my whole body, like, and my arm is sore, my forearm is cramping. But if I throw it on a spinning rod, I'm good, man.
So what you're saying is anyone who's a good jerkbaiter is a limp-wristed dude. That's what
I hope you would get that.
Limp-wristed dudes are good at jerking. Is what you just said. That came out of your mouth. That's in quotes.
But I wasn't thinking that. But yeah, I mean, I just get. Look, man. Look, maybe I'm weak-wristed. That could be it, man. Maybe I need to do, like, you know, get on the freaking Gold's Gym. Like, you know, do they have a jerkbait exercise you could do to strengthen it? Man, dude, you know, like, look, you play ball, right? I coach baseball, like, for the little dudes, right? And I would throw to them in the street, all the little fools in the neighborhood that wanted to, you know, I just throw wiffle balls and throw those little hit stick balls. Remember?
I was one of those little dudes.
That's true. I got tendonitis so bad. And so I've talked to dudes who got tendonitis bad from jerkbait. And I'm like, I'm not doing that again, man. I couldn't even pick up a straw without wincing, dude. It hurts. So I do my stretches now and stuff. So jerkbaiting, if I have to jerkbait, I'll throw it, but I will die trying to find another technique.
You can just do the shake weight.
It helps
it helps you jerk better.
I knew we could. I knew we could.
I said a +1, a mega bass.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
We couldn't avoid it, man. We couldn't avoid it.
Jeez.
Oh, the other thing I threw, which is really cool, and John DeMay from Dim Jigs turned me on to it. I threw a football jig with a switchblade on it. Queen's tackle. That thing does not get hung up. And I didn't catch a ton on it, but I caught a couple, and I thought that was really cool, man.
Yeah.
Really cool. So you can make a chatterbait, football style chatterbait. So if you've got a collection of football jigs, man, just go ahead and throw a Queen's tackle bladed jig on there, man, and you're good.
No doubt.
And it thumps, dude. It thumps.
Oh,
it thumps.
There's no doubt about it. Those guys, they kind of were pretty innovative, you know. So when my partner and I had won the big college regional there on Lake Norman, you know, we had beat Chelsea and KJ Queen on Lake Norman on their home lake. They finished second in that tournament. And I remember going into that deal, everybody was like, yeah, KJ and his dad, they had won like every tournament on Norman. And they were like, so everyone's fishing for second. And then my partner and I ended up winning that, you know, whatever big college regional there back in long time ago now. But KJ came out with Queen tackle, and dude, they started doing a lot of tungsten stuff, and man, I was just really blown away. They're super innovative, and they make some stuff that makes a lot of sense in a fisherman's arsenal. So big fan of Queen's tackle stuff for sure.
There you go, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, so did we miss any questions? I'm sure we've been like jamming this whole time. I think we fielded some of them, but what else you guys want to talk about, man? We talked about a lot of things, man. And for those of you who are late to the show,
I did have a guy ask earlier. He said, "Is that the guy that was with Milliken in the selling GPS coordinates?" I could brush up on that.
Oh, you could. Absolutely, you could, man.
Yeah,
you could.
So, anyways, Travis has talked about this too. But as a fishing guide, Eric, I'm sure this happens to you on the Bay in Potomac. Dude, sure. I could take today. I got 15 messages from people. Hey, man, I'm going to a lake I've never been. You know, what should I go and what should I throw? And I'm like, hey, do you want a guide trip? No, you know, I can't do a $600 guide trip. I'm like, all right, do you want to come by the tackle shop? No, don't have time. So these people obviously value Travis's information. They value my information. They value your information.
Sure.
So they want our intellectual property, but they just want it to be given to them for
free.
And I'm like, hey, dude, like I've spent thousands and thousands of hours, thousands and thousands of dollars of gas idling, figuring out these secret brush piles and rock piles and grass patches and isolated cover. So what that is essentially my intellectual property, my hard-earned intellectual property. So I had a customer one day. He booked a trip with me, and we went out and smashed him. He's like, dude, I want to do this again next week. I said, dude, I'm literally booked for 60 straight days. Like, I don't have time to take you. I said, but I will sell you a tip, which is essentially exactly how I would guide you. You're just going to be on your boat. But, you know, I'll say, hey, if the weather's this, you should hit these areas. If the weather ends up doing this, hit these areas. So anyways, him and his son went out and had an awesome day, ended up blowing him up. And he was like, dude, how often do guides get asked for intellectual property? And by the way, guys, I'm going to tell you, even pros with no information rules are getting information. I'm just telling you guys that before the Bassmaster.
Is it legal for them to buy a tip off of a publicly available website before the no information rule?
I don't. Well, that's totally fair. But I'm just saying people are like, oh, this is dirty. This is dirty. People hit people up for information like crazy. Yeah. And here's the deal. This is how guides like me and Travis and other dudes put money. Like, this is how I literally feed my family, dude. The house I'm in is from me working my tail off guiding. And listen, the only way for me to make money as a guide is to literally be on the water. So what we came up with is fishtips.com. It's for guides. It's for highly dialed in anglers that are already getting blown up. It's like, hey, here's a platform where it's not awkward, because I'll get people, they're like, hey, how's your wife? How's your kids? And I'm like, listen, you don't care about them. You want to go out on the water and have success. That's what you care about. So we've created a platform for guys to simply trade money for information. So I actually had sold a tip yesterday to a fella, and he ended up messaging me. This is exactly what he said. He said, hey, dude, I just wanted to say thank you for the fish tip. Absolutely smashed them today. I think that's a cool concept where someone can go to a lake they've never been on and get a nudge in the right direction. I learned a lot about these mountain fish. Hooked a giant that pulled off. I'm pretty sure I saw the lake record right where you said I'd see one on the Clash 9. So, you know, like, this is a guy, he's never been to a lake. It's a huge lake. He doesn't know where to start. And I'm like, hey, here's some tips to get you in the right direction. Because think about all the time and gas money and stress that you have when you pull up and you're like, where do I start? Like, what? So when you know, I see people, and listen, you can go on the Facebook pages, dude. There's 20 messages a day that go up, say, hey, I'm going to Gunnersville. Does anyone have any tips? And it's like, people are like, yeah, go fishing a ledge in 20 foot of water. And it's like, okay, great. You just narrowed down the whole lake. Like, you know, but that guy would be willing to probably pay $50 or $100 to get something that's really dialed in, that a guide has worked hard to fill or figure out, you know, and it's an additional income stream for a guide, and it's an opportunity for someone to have more efficient success on the water. So it's anyways. So Clint says, yeah, so he's a goofball and needs to be told how to fish. I wouldn't sell my soul for it, but you do you. I mean, you probably don't drink certain beers or whatever. Like, no products for everybody. the what people aren't seeing is like, if Clint went, I don't know where Clint's from, but if somebody went to, let's say, Texas, or like my dad does not have time to be on the water. My dad, if going to Florida, when he goes on his Florida trip with his buddies, they want to fish like 6 or 7 lakes. Well, dude, they've never fished grass like that. They don't even know where to start, but they desire to have success. Well, they'll book a trip with a guide on one lake. And they're like, all right, well, this helped me on one lake, but I want to go fish 6 or 7 other lakes. Dad would rather spend $100 getting a tip for 6 different lakes than $600 on a guide trip for one lake.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
And listen, there's tons and tons of guys out there that, like I said, there's people in the know and there's people that don't know. And there's people that are willing to just say, hey, like, and here's the opportunity for me. I get to expand my revenue sources. Like as a guide, once again, dude, guys, I just turned 30. I've had 4 skin cancers removed from my body already.
What?
4. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like I'm a guide. I am in the sun 24/7. How do I make money without giving myself skin cancer? Like I've got to figure out how to passively make money. Like that is the power of this. You know, if someone texts me right now and said, hey, I'm going to XYZ lake around here that I guide on 20 lakes, what's the deal? I can tell them right now where to go and have success.
Right.
You know? And that's the power of this thing. So yeah, that's exactly right. Squishy Muck says not everyone has time to do homework on the water. That's right. I mean, Eric, you're a profession, you're a business professional. You've spent years and years and years. I'm not saying that you would use fish tips or wouldn't use fish tips, but there's times when I'm sure you've pulled up to the lake, you hadn't been there for a while, where you're like, damn, I don't even know where to start.
That for sure. For sure. You know, back in the day, man. I mean, I hear you.
Totally. So
ain't no shame in that game. If you got the time and you want to shorten the cycle of learning, why not? I mean, you're going to spend $100 in gas figuring it out. Why not spend $100 tip that might point you in the right direction for the pattern?
Yeah, I do.
You know, and then see the quality of the tip. You know, they're not all $100. Some are 25, some are 50, some are 400, some are 200, some are 75, 60. I mean, you as the person selling the tip determines the price, right?
I think Clint's a little slow. He says it's called fishing, not selling GPS points. I think you're missing out. It's more than just selling GPS points. I would actually argue that selling GPS points is the bare minimum of what this is. I would say it's literally providing a guide trip, like a virtual guide trip on how to fish. So how's this fit with Milliken? Yeah. So he said, so how's this fit with Milliken? Well, we're in very serious talks about investments and everything. Ben really likes it because Ben gets hit up 20 times a week on, hey, I'll pay you $2,000 to guide me and put me on those fish. And he's like, hey, I can't do that, but I will provide you with how I did it for a fee, like I was guiding you. I don't have time to guide you. So,
yeah, I'm sure he gets a lot of inquiries like that, right? And plus he's busy filming.
Of course, you know who else does? Travis does. Travis has.
Oh yeah.
Well, once again, Travis has this consultation. You can pay to talk to Travis, guess what Travis does? It's the same thing. It's the same thing as fish tips, except you talk to him on the phone, and I don't know what the rates are, but it's like $100 for 30 minutes of his time.
Yeah.
Listen, it's the same exact thing. People are constantly hitting us up for information and don't realize, like, once again, he has a family. I have a family. This is how we make our money. So I know people can be like, spend more time on the water. Well, for the business professional trying to provide for his family, he doesn't have time to spend on the water, and he still wants to go out on the lake with his son and have success.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it is for some guys. And that's the cool part. You know, it's just like, some guys want to do it on their own. Some guys want to shorten the cycle. So it's, nobody has to get spun out, whether it's right or wrong.
Listen, OG Andrew says, I've spent $500 this year on muskie classes and memberships to be able to get into seminars. Completely worth it. And I know I'll catch more fish because of it. I see this as no different than a trip. I mean, exactly right. Guys are literally, it's a way for fishermen to monetize their intellectual property. And it's a great, great opportunity for guys to make money. And like I said, it's
hey,
not. Man,
Go for Hay says people pay money for a 30-minute golf lesson. Why not fishing? There you go.
It's 100%. I mean, and this is the cool thing. I mean, like,
you pay $30,000 to $100,000 for a boat, You pay, I don't even know what the gear costs.
$150 a month in insurance.
Right. I mean, so, I mean, you know, it's for the right guy or gal or whoever or father or, you know, tournament angler. Maybe it's an advantage.
Yeah.
Maybe a black and blue crankbait could be an advantage.
This is a great one. I like Squishy Muck says, hey, if I'm fishing a large body of water I've never been to, I would gladly pay $100 for a consultation. Even if you don't need the tips, it's picking an expert's mind. And I mean, that's the thing. And once again, I want to stress to everybody
real quick.
Yeah.
I have a question. So on the platform, do I get to rate the tip? Meaning,
yeah, you can. We've introduced the rating system. We've also introduced a request a tip, because I've had guys reach out to me and they're like, hey man, I didn't see a fresh tip for Fontana Lake. And I'm like, oh crap, we've been on Fontana Lake. We just haven't made a tip. So guys can literally go on and say, hey, I'm fishing Fontana Lake. They can hit request a tip, and a notification goes out to the 3 guides that are, you know, multiple guides that are on the lake. And the first one to service that makes money doing this. So anyways.
Right. Well, did I just increase the?
I don't know. I like this though. Hey,
all I did was push some button, and all of a sudden we're bigger. Whoa!
Yeah.
How do you guys like the new view? I don't know how I did that. Let's see. Hold on. There we go.
Cool. Yeah. Jig Squad says Clint doesn't really like the idea.
It's all good. It's all good. We don't have to get hung up on that, man. Matthew Weimer asks, when do I like Bruiser? When do I like a black and blue crankbait? It's so hard to find. TK painted this one as a request to me. And man, when do you throw a black and blue jig? Here's the answer. Anytime. I like crankbaits in colors that you can't find sometimes, just like the June bug. And sometimes it pays dividends. So we're going to find out if the Bruiser colored crankbait pays dividends. I'll keep you posted. Oh man, I want to show you guys one thing. You got a second? I want to do a little show and tell.
Do it, man.
Oh, I got questions, big bait questions for Austin. All right, Austin, talk to me, because I lost a giant in Florida on this, the Tiny Clash Joy Keith, but it's the high float. Yeah. I saw Keith working the high float. I fell in love because where we were fishing the grass was almost up to the surface.
Yeah.
It's about 6 inches below.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you something. Holy moly, dude.
Was he walking it where it looked like a big wake bait?
It was, no, he was doing lipless, and it was just going all sorts of crazy erratic motion. No lip in, just crazy motion, a lot of rod action, man, a lot of real turns, lot of English on it. And we got to this gut, and I took the front of the boat. I had a high float on, man, and I jumped off a giant. That's the day I caught that 25-inch. I don't know, let's call it 11, 25, you know, with a giant girth. I mean, it had to be an 11, right? I mean, whatever, man. It was a giant fish. I didn't win, so I can't claim I got a double D. Everybody, don't hate on me. It was 25 inches. What do you think?
So not a big fan of the high float.
But for that application.
For any time I'm trying to fish really high in the water column, like I noticed because, dude, let me tell you something. And I've heard some mixed opinions about this.
Sure.
Giant fish don't necessarily feed on top water. I've heard people say this. Mm-hmm. But when you think about what a top water is, they use the air as a wall, right? Like the surface of the water is a wall they can ambush against. So their percentages when they're trying to attack something high in the water column goes up if they're pushing it up, because it's a wall, just like a bang or a rock or a dot.
Right. Good analogy.
Yeah. So the thing,
and I'm not thinking about it for my personal best. I'm thinking about, what I'm thinking about.
I know what you're thinking about.
I'm thinking about, I want that 5 and 6 pound plus class fish. Have you ever thought about it on the herring lakes?
So the answer is yes. And I'll tell you the one success story I've had with the high float.
And then I got another one I want to show you.
All right, we'll talk about that one. But the Tiny Clash was night fishing. I was night fishing it like a wake bait on top of the water, and it sounded like somebody dropped a cinder block in from heaven. And it was a giant. It was a 7.5 pounder, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Special.
All right, that's cool. Anyways. That's cool. Hey, before I forget, I have to give a little shout out to Jamie from Sematis Baits, because one of my 6+ pound fish in my personal 31.96 pound cast to catch limit, all caught on GoPro. Hopefully Travis will make a special video just for Epic Eric as co-host. I've requested it, and I've said I'd pay him for it. I'd pay him for his time to edit that video. If he'd like to do it as a gift to me, I'm happy to receive it. If he needs to charge me, I'm happy to pay the money for his time. I don't look for anything free. Anyway, I caught one of them, and I thought about it before I went out. Jamie sent me some, he's been on the show before, sent me some hollow tip worms. It's a bigger Ned bait. It's got some rings in the center. I was slathering up with goby juice, by the way, or maybe with smallmouth magic, one of the 2 cents. I think it was smallmouth magic. But I took the thinnest glass rattle I could find. I stuck it in the hollow tip, and I super glued it in. It stayed in all day. I caught a lot of fish on it. And so when that thing was down there and that hollow tip was going, or I was giving a little bit of a shake, I know that thing was rattling. I've had some mega bag days throwing plastics with rattles. Nobody bothers to do it anymore. And I'm sure it's down there making noise with the head and all that. But it's also, now it's rattling with the tail. And I think I was calling smallmouth in, and clearly I caught a big one in, because that was one of my fish. And I think it was the 6. I don't know. I got it on film. It was on my story. I'll highlight that story. So if you missed my story, you can see all the fish that I held up for my New York visit, man. So anyway, shout out to the hollow tip worm. Shout out to the Bass Lab creation on the little jig. Shout out to a lot of different baits, man. TK and Marty Burns, Big M on the balsa baits, man. It was what a fun, and 9K. Hell yeah, dude. I can't stop reliving. I do not want to come home.
No doubt, dude.
I fished for 5 days straight, and I wasn't done. It was beautiful. What weather. I've been fishing in cold fronts, rain, and wind all year long. Finally, I got some sun. It was a little sporty coming in one day with Travis. He took a few liberties with me driving, because I told him that. I said, man, after we came into Mud Bay, I'm like, dude, you took some liberties with me out there. He started laughing. He was pushing that boat, man. I took a couple, man. My body went, oh, I crumpled me, man. Oh, you know, 6-footers, dude, coming into a truck. He drives great, by the way. But there's sometimes you just can't avoid it, man. You hit it sideways, man. A rogue wave pops up. You don't see it, man. Oof.
We're guiding on all mid 2000 Rangers now. Those are the boats we have, and those are like heavy wave cutters. And our lakes aren't very big. I mean, you've been on all of our lakes; they're not very big, but dude, no. Really hard to beat that mid 2000s Ranger. We've got new motors on them, the new Pro XS 4-strokes. Those things are bad to the bone. So, yeah, is he running a Camus now?
Yes, it's a great boat.
Yeah. So Camus is, I know Ben Milliken, he runs a Camus. I've been in his boat a few times. And anyways, it's a good riding boat, but I love those Rangers. Dude, I sold my Skeeter, and I loved my Skeeter. My Skeeter was a beautiful riding boat. I know you've had Skeeters over the years.
Yeah, I have. Really soft. Really
a fan of them. So
Yep. You know, the one thing I didn't get to throw, and I forgot to do it, man. I'm enamored with this little, it's called, what's it called? Barushka or Barishki. It's from Russia. And so here's the deal, man. They do this swing head. It's a little, but it's a finesse swing head. All the swing heads in America are giant. This would have been perfect for those 3 to 5 foot flats that we're catching a lot of fish on. And this is a Gamakatsu
G-lock.
It's a G-lock, and you see how that little hook point, but it's red. And so I really wanted to I didn't do it. I had a bag of them. I have a bag of tricks that I've been dying to shoot film with Travis. And this is the other thing I didn't throw, but I wanted to, the little squid monster from, so it's like a funky little, and it's a Nico bait. It's that incredible stretch plastic, but this red little squid, man. I had it rigged up sitting down here in the lab. I've been holding it there for 2 years. Didn't get in the game. Dang it. I'll just have to go back. So anyway, man, if there's anything anybody wants me to try when I'm on these trips, I will do it. I am a tinkerer, and some of my tinkerer baits worked. And yeah, man, I didn't throw my Clacky Wacky either, and they were on. Did you ever see the Clacky Wacky, bro?
No.
Okay,
give me some Clacky Wacky.
The Clacky Wacky is patented. I tied it up in the Bass Lab. I've got 2 of them on this cut tail worm. But anyway, let me just take one off. I'll and I've shown this before on the stream, but I won't tell how it's made. But it's a B10S stinger hook. But listen, can you hear it?
Faintly. Hold it closer to the computer.
All right, hold. Maybe hold it closer to the microphone. Okay, ready?
Wherever the microphone is.
Right here. Listen. Shh. Hold on. I got to get the worm right. Hold on. Ready?
Oh, I hear it.
Hear it?
What are you doing? What are you doing with your hand not on the screen?
No. Look, can you hear it from here?
Yes, I hear it.
Yeah,
This sounds good.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of rubber on it. I can't show exactly how I did it, but man, because they were eating a wacky rig good time up at Will's, man.
Do you?
I think this clacky wacky would have murdered him, man.
What?
But yeah.
What do you know about the pube cube?
I want to make one myself. Look, I've shown a little trick. Here's the deal, dude. I have threaded all sorts of crazy stuff through plastics, man. I'm going to cut a beaver square, and I'm just going to take a bait threading needle, and I'm going to hook some old silicone off a jig that's just burn up skirt, and I'm going to hook it through and see if I can catch one. I'm going to make my own cubes at home. What you think about that now?
Hey, man. Listen, you can do it. Apparently it works in Japan. I think I needed the dice rubber. What is it called?
It's dice, man. So look, to me, you could take maybe there's something about the square that makes it float because it's got all those angles, right? Maybe the square falling, but you've got all that stuff. So maybe it just floats down straight and it's just got a lot of action. All it is you could literally take a beaver that is burnt, right? It's a burnt beaver. The head won't hold a hook anymore. The tail's done, and just cut it in half, right? You know what I mean? Cut the head off and cut the tails off and start sticking that bait needle through with I'm going to make one and post it. This is my homemade bait cube or dice. What do y'all think? And then I'm going to go up and catch one on it.
You got to call it the pube cube. It's the only way.
I'm going to call it the beef cube. It's the beef cube. So hang on to your old plastics, man. Fuzzy dice, man. It's crazy. The bearded clam. John Henny. Yeah, exactly. Brown Baitco says, yeah, make it, man. Yeah, I've stuck some weird shit through baits, man.
Industry infatuation. That is so true.
I stuck that into a spirit shad. Everybody's like, that's a rabbit bait, man. I don't know, man. I could stick some more silicone through there and go, it ain't a rabbit bait no more. I could put like silicone in each segment of that thing and make that thing so freaking rubbery and hairy. Would that qualify? Come on now. You could do that with anything. You could do it with a Senko. You could take this, wacky Senko and stick literally strands, and you could make this a hairy Senko if you wanted to, or a hairy freaking. You could make it the hairy worm. That's what I'm coming out with. They got the cube. I got the hairy worm. Right,
bro?
You know what I'm talking about? Bait thread needle, right, dude? You get them. It's like a needle. It's got a hole in the eye. You stick your strand through. You could also do it with a dental floss threader. A dental floss, and the floss threader is great if you've got a skirt that has a rubber band and is not wire tied, and you want to add 2 strands of chartreuse. Just get yourself a dental floss threader, stick the pointed thing through under the rubber band, frickin' stick a couple strands of chartreuse, pull it through, man. You got yourself a chartreuse skirt with a couple strands of chartreuse. You got a sexy shad skirt now.
If you start selling your hairy worm, I'm going to just make sure you get a male grooming kit. I'm going to send you a male grooming kit for Christmas.
That's crazy.
My boy Mark D said, who has a hairy worm?
Oh, hey, did I mention that in the Blades of Fury pack I'm putting in these silicone skirts? Check this out, dude. This is old school. This is like flat living rubber. It's super thin. The flow in these skirts is ridiculous. But this is made out of silicone. You could rig it straight if you want a more slender profile on a buzzbait or spinnerbait or chatterbait, frankly, or you can reverse it. And so it's got colors that you just don't see anymore. This is a gray and white and black. This is a fire tiger. And don't sleep. It's going to sound crazy. Who here, raise your hand, although we can't see anybody, who here has thrown a fire tiger buzzbait skirt with a silver blade? Okay, right there. That's my favorite skirt for that fire tiger one. Black and yellow. And I'll tell you what, when the bluegills are spawning on my rivers, if you ain't throwing a black and yellow buzzbait skirt, that's the one that helped Travis win 13-5 on the river. Thank you very much. And then, of course, we got your standard colors. White.
Did he get information from you?
What do you mean? Yeah, I took him fishing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was winning Wednesday nighters like nonstop, bro.
I was just wondering if he got information from you. That's all I was wondering.
Hey, I got information from Gino, the operator, and JP who's tall as a tree. He's like 6'8". Man, I'm coming home from a great trip in New York. This was a great capper on the end of the day. So I'm driving home from New York. It's a 10-hour drive. And you got to call your homies when you're driving, right? So I call up JP. He answers the phone. And Gino, the operator, Gino Bial was with him. And those are the guys that ran our tournament, the Smallmouth Crush Open. And they're on Oneida. And I'm like, well, I'm in Pulaski. And he goes, you're about an hour and a half away from us. So I said, I'll call you when I get close. So I call him, and I just happened to call him literally 1,000 yards before the exit that I have to take to go meet them at the boat ramp. They say, meet us at the boat ramp at X place. I won't say where they were, but I rolled up to the boat ramp. They had the boat docked, and he showed me his 55th anniversary Ranger, took a little tour. I said, let's fire this baby up and go out. Within 3 minutes, they had me catching a smallmouth. I caught 3 smallmouth. They treated me like gold, man. There's a bed. There's a bed. There's a bed. I even got his rod and reel. Didn't bring any gear. Just like pop, 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 pop. They had already caught all the big fish, but it was all cool, man. I had so much fun with them. Those two guys are some of the most solid guys you'll ever meet. Gino, the operator, he's on here right now, is Gino Bial. I can't say his name right. I'm just going to call him Gino, the operator. He says, I got the fish with Eric. Yeah. And then JP, big JP. And Big awesome. JP's starting a guide service. So if you guys are looking for a trip, man, support him. Austin's obviously a guide. You guys know Travis guides all the time. You got Captain Scooter Lily out there too, man, down south, man. So I get to fish with a lot of studs, man. They're all amazing and always put me on some good fish. But
well, listen, I believe that what you put out in the world, you get back from the world. And for me, it's always been about, dream catchers. For me as a brand, I've had a dream catch of making it in the fishing industry. I've been fortunate enough to I've made it in this industry. And for me, I want to see other people succeed. I want to see other people reel in their dream catch.
That's right.
And I think you fall right into that category. And, I think there's a lot of people, there's two, really, you look at the world either through a lens of a scarcity mentality or an abundance mentality. And when I think about people that have an abundance mentality, I think I'm one of those guys. I think a lot of that came from you as a personal mentor.
Man, thank you, Austin.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, you're a big thinker. There's a lot of guys out there. They think of things negatively and they put negativity out in the world, and then they wonder why their life sucks. And I think about people who are constantly encouraging people, constantly loving people, constantly helping people, constantly trying to help others succeed. And you're one of those guys. And guess what? It comes back to you. And that's what makes you so special. That's what makes you special in this industry, bro.
Thanks, man. I'm going to read something in honor of my mom. And
do it, man.
It's going to be hard for me to read it, but I'm going to read it to you guys because my mom made me the man that I am today, along with my father. But since yesterday was Mother's Day, man, I posted up my story. And if you go all the way back on my Instagram, you'll see that it's my first post that I ever made because it's where my story starts. And this one is about my mom, man. And I got to go to the archive because I did it yesterday.
That's powerful. Are you sharing it from your story?
I'm going to share it from my story. I'm going to show the picture. That's my mom right there. Liz was her name. And that's my father, Gene.
I don't think I ever had the chance to meet your mom.
I don't think so, man. She passed away before Meg was born and Max was born. So
I'd have probably been 3 years old or so.
You were a wee little lad, yeah. So and it says, my story starts here with love to my mom. She took me fishing, taught me to appreciate all the beauty in the world.
Wow.
She was kind to everyone, always lended a hand, a shoulder to cry on, or a meal if you needed one. I'm a better man because of her. Happy Mother's Day. I miss her every day, man. So if your mom's still alive, man, do me a favor, call up tonight and thank her for whatever gift she gave you in the world. I hope she was there for you. And that's a tribute to all the mothers in the world, man, because they gave us all life. And that week that I spent up in New York, I was thinking hard about her. And I appreciate it because, I wouldn't be able to experience those trips with Travis, that trip with you, that trip with Will, that moment with JP and Gino on the water. And man, I'm thankful for it every day, man, that she gave me life, man. So,
it's crazy when you think about leaving a legacy with your life. Because I think about, you know, somebody impacted your mother in a crazy positive way, and then your mother impacted you in a crazy positive way. You impacted me in a crazy positive way. And I think about all the people that I've been able to impact with my life so far on earth. And it is truly incredible when you think about it, man. And it's inspiring. I think of like the state of the world, and I'm like, I think it can be so negative, but Jesus said, man, he said a city on a hill can't be hidden. And what he was saying was the light that shines in us is brighter than the darkness is around us.
Beautiful.
And, you know, I think about that so often, is like, hey man, like try to be someone's best part of their day to day. And, you know, you told me from a young age, man, hey dude, a freaking smile can change someone's life. And, you know, so it's powerful, man. So I just, you know, I know a lot of these guys, they just kind of know you as Epic Eric, the fish guy. And obviously I've been fortunate to know you for the greater majority of my life. And, you know, just, it's been so cool. Obviously, I was thinking about this early. Did you ever think when you met me at age 10 or 9 at a freaking golf course pond right down the road from your house, that 20 years later, 21 years later, we'd be live streaming and talking fishing?
No. I thought for sure you were going to play baseball professionally. Wow. And like, I'd be watching you on TV one day, like literally I felt that was your destiny.
Wow.
And when those two back-to-back injuries and your, you know, freshman and sophomore year, and how dark those times were you, and we kept talking, and how somehow, some way I'd find this DVD called Southern Trout Eaters, and the light bulb would go, man, I always knew you had a passion for fishing. And then we talked, and you'd be doing bass raps on the phone, cracking me up. And then, you know, the next minute crying, both of us cried because your dream to go play pro ball, because they were scouting you, bro. I knew you were going to the show. I can't say I know anybody. Maybe I've heard of a name, but I didn't know him personally like I knew you, because as you grew into a young man, we spent more time. We fished together. Let's tell the 12-pound story, Mono, about the frog, where your dad caught the shit out of him on 12-pound Mono on a horny toad. It was unbelievable. He beat our asses with 12-pound Mono. And that's in grass. That's the only way we could get a bite. Weird story. Anyway, but going back to those moments, man, and then you starting the Bass Club, and then me giving you that DVD in the depths of your depression that one Christmas, you're going, holy shit, those big baits, those guys fish 45 minutes. And I didn't know Western Carolina, where you're playing baseball, Chateau, Glenville, and whatever other lakes I didn't know the names of were right down the street, and that you would become to be one of the best big bait specialists in the country.
Wow.
And open up a tackle shop or buy one, you know, that you now run and have a guide service, and that you've got this record and you're hanging with Ben Milliken. I would have never dreamed it for a minute, man. But that same drive that got you to be a competitive baseball player is the same drive that you've brought, and that same light that you brought to those conversations, the light that you talk about, that joy that you can bring, that smile, that laughter. But the intensity too. There's an intense side of Austin, and there's a competitive side of Austin. And same thing for me. I want to win. And I want to win in business. But there's that very, you know, that softer side that my mom gave me. My dad gave me the side of, you know, the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Wow.
Right. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. And, you know, I try to bring that to my bait game. I try to bring it to when I'm ready for, you know, whether I'm the guy in the front of the boat or back of the boat, when I used to be in the front of the boat. But that time has passed, man. I'm so stoked that I get to fish with great fishermen and people that have a great ability to find fish. And what, you know, I still know I can find fish because I know bass fish. I had to find fish when I had my own boat, right? I didn't forget that knowledge. It hasn't changed. The tools have changed. But I'm just as happy to fish freestyle on the back of the boat naturally. That magic of not seeing what's in front of me. Sure, I'll look at a 360, but I'll use my eyes and I'll use my lure and my rod to understand bottom composition, and I'll use all the knowledge I've gained over the year. And don't get me wrong, man. I love live scope. It's fun to do it. But I looked at that live scope with Travis for 3 hours. I couldn't fucking understand it. And I go, my motto was with him, if you see something, say something. He goes, I'll let you know, bud. And I'm like, well, why the fuck you casting over there? The most point here. You saw something, you didn't say something. I had him laughing the whole time. If you see something, say something, bud. But that's his jam. My jam is just, you know, I like to wind, and I love to finesse fish. I love to finesse fish, but I also love throwing a big bait till my arm falls off. I haven't mastered it. I'm average at it, but I sure give it a shot, man. And it's fun because you can see some giant fish behind those baits, and sometimes they bite.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
You know what I mean? So
big swim baiting is fun.
It is, man. To me, it's all fun. I love throwing a buzz bait as much as I love throwing a gan craft, as much as I love throwing a little jig. Man, it's all magical when they bite. I don't care if the bait's an 1/8 ounce or 8 ounces. If I can get them to whack it, I'm happy.
Oh, my
that's
God.
That's just me. That's just me. I'm a bait junkie, admittedly. Yeah, I love to tinker, and I love to tinker. I love to tinker.
That's the coolest thing when I think about fishing, like all the species you can chase, all the different techniques. It's like and it doesn't matter who you are, dude. Like, you think about it. So, you know, where I guide on Lake Glenville, it's one of the wealthiest communities in the world. I mean, you guys can do some research on people I've guided, you know, just look at people who live in Cashers Highlands, North Carolina. I'm talking about the wealthiest people on the earth. And at the same time, you can see someone who, you know, just lives in a lesser means spot, fishing, desiring to catch fish too. You know, fishing is an incredible sport where anybody from any walk of life can do it for any reason. And man, fishing's incredible. It's actually, did you know, it's it's like, I think it's tied for the #1 hobby with running. I think 1 out of every 8 people fishes in some semi-recreational way.
That's amazing. It's a huge market, man. It touches a lot of people. There were 2 guys. So I walked into I had a breakfast with Will up in Hogansburg at a little sandwich place. His cousins run it. It was really cool, man. I bought the 2 moms their flowers for their Flowers Day, came back through the hotel, and I saw some guys with Molik shirts on. And they're like, hey, I thought they recognized me. So I walked over. I knew they were there to fish with Will. And they're both from Italy, Leone and Johnny.
No way.
So I start talking Italian. I'm like, io sono italiano, ma parlo un poco, de dove sai, mi chiamo Enrique, come ti chiamo? Like, I'm talking to them because I know a little bit of Italian. And they're like, oh, parlo italiano. So we start talking in English, Italian mix and getting stuff out. And so we take a picture together. I posted it on my story. And then I'm like, I got to give you some baits. So I get them my whole sticker pack, you know, like I get them the She Thick, Bass Lab, you know, keep on grinding. Oh man, they ever love Dr. Crankbait. They're loving it. I give them both my little bait pack so they can put their net heads in it.
Come on.
Right, because I know they're going to be losing some. Then we go down. I see them launch. I gave them a couple spinner baits too from 9K Elite, that, you know, the collab, the Golden Shiner that I was whacking them on. That Golden Shiner is so saucy, dude. Oh my gosh. Anyway, and but that was cool, man. It's so fishing is the international language, man. It doesn't matter. And those 2 little boys from the Mohawk Reservation, I can't even say their names because they're long names. And I had seen them last year. Travis bought his boat into that Thompson Marina right there on the St. Lawrence. Yeah. And he was getting his trim tilt fixed. It was broken. So Handu, who's the guy that runs it, the marina, he's a cousin of Will's. He's working on it. And all these little kids come onto the boat. And I'm like, they're just a zillion questions about my rods and reels. Cause you know, I'm out, I'm there. I got my bag. I start to take some crankbaits. I gave him a Marty Burns crankbait. I gave him some Timber Tigers. I gave him some spinner baits. I gave him some Ned rigs. Both those little dudes were back there every single day we came off the water with Will for 3 days in a row. I kept feeding them lures, and that's when their mom reached out to me on Instagram and said, thank you so much for treating your boys like the gifts. They love it. And they were telling me stories about all these things. And I told you, he caught a little big pike on the Huddleston weedless, but those kids are ate up with it. They remind me of me when I was their age. 1 rod, Now they got a bunch of baits. I gave them little like plastic tackle packs that I put my stuff in, and they were just like, "What is that?" And I opened up the back of my truck with the rollout thing. They're just like, their eyes went big. They had zillions of questions. They were picking up the Huddleston 8-inch. They were like, "What is that?" They were going kooky, man. It was fun.
I was going kooky when you had the rollout thing in the 4Runner, dude. You rolled that thing out downstairs, and I had a million questions. I was like, let's go, baby.
I got to do a little video on that one day. I really want to do a video of my tackle system. So for the guys out there, because I think I've gone through a lot of different things. And I really like the storage aspect of it. I use the Plano slimline boxes, which help me. And it really makes you paradigm to say, okay, this is exactly what, these are my go-to baits. This is what I want. This is what I need. So anyway,
that would make for a really cool series of videos talking about, you've never made you've obviously everyone's seen the back of your 4Runner, but like how you set it up, the roller system, everything, dude, that is spiffy.
Yeah. And just these little things right here. I mean, it's stuff like that, if I could stick it in my pocket and I've got access to it, just really being organized and efficient for the guys who are co-angling, in tournament series, or whether it's team or, BFLs or ABAs or, even an open, right? If you got into it, being efficient and having just what you need, like the go-to stuff that, if for the time and season, I think it'd be a great series on YouTube, man. The prepared co-angler. I wanted, because we had St. Croix on, and I was begging St. Croix to do like the Lucky Slevin rods. Like, what are the 7 rods that you would need action, spinning to casting, or 5? Let's say it's 5, and pare it down so that you can try. And I wanted to feature it in the Legendary Lakes Tour, so because if I'm like giving up my Loomis, you're gonna have to make me 7 rods.
Oh,
I'm not giving up my Loomis, man. I like my Loomis, bro. I still love them cranking sticks, man. So Michael Payne said he'd like to watch that series. So Don G says, what's the hottest balsa bait right now, in my opinion, man? I throw a lot of old school and I throw a lot of Burns baits, but there's a lot of baits. I can't pick one. Hell, I mean, I love my flat sides this time of year. I'm a Zoom fan. A DT6 is a bad little joker. DT4 production ball, so that's probably my favorite. DT6, it's still one of the best. I haven't spent a lot of time with the OG Slims because Marty makes baits for me that really fit that category for me. And I wasn't impressed with the OG Slim. It was a lazy bait that didn't have a lot of action, and I don't understand it. I can't feel the bait, just like the DT8. I can't feel that bait. I know people catch them on it. I know it's a good bait. As far as a plastic bait, the new Fritz side's a bad little joker. But I'm a custom balsa guy. I always will be. I just love wood. And there's a lot of vintage wood I love. I love so many crankbaits. I can't stand it. I'm a crankbait nut. Oh, man, this has been fun, man. Thank you for coming on, dude. I was so impromptu. It's serendipitous. Just like seeing Gino and JP, this one was serendipitous, man. Thank you, man. You always bring the light, brother. What can I say, man? Your big bait game is ridiculous.
Well, hey, I just want to say one more thing. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you don't mind, if some people don't like me, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But if you do like me or do like Dream Catchers Fishing, please feel more than free to head over to our YouTube channel. We're always putting out fun content, throwing big swim baits, guiding people, doing a little bit of everything. Right. So head over to Dream Catchers Fishing on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. We'll have more information on bait drops, DRTs. Dude, I'll tell you, there's an infatuation in the industry right now with the Hinkles. Everybody and their mama going crazy for some Hinkles. And, every once in a while we drop the Hinkles on Dream Catchers Fishing. So
wow,
we have those in stock from time to time. We got Hinkle Shads, Hinkle Trouts. Anyways, head over to YouTube, Dream Catchers Fishing, and then Instagram's Dream Catchers Fishing, Facebook's Dream Catchers Fishing. We try to keep a synergistic brand so everybody knows that we are Dream Catchers. So
yeah, Sean Lie's like, man, he wants to know when that custom DRT is dropping. Well, who knows? But maybe this year we shall see.
No, right? it's definitely this year. I could say some things on live that I'm not going to say, not about DRT or anything, but just listen, they are working their tail off. They're making baits for 5 different countries, like custom countries like Spain, Italy, like, oh, it's unbelievable how many baits are in the works, but they're working on it. It's going to be this year. So they thought it was going to be last year, and then they kind of got overwhelmed with some things. And yeah, so anyways.
Hey, so here's a question. I'm going to say the Gancraft 178 is the best glide for smallies. Do you agree?
I've caught a lot of fish, a lot of smallmouth on a Gancraft 178.
But yeah, what about a chopper? What about a chopper style bait that you can get? I don't want to hear about. I don't want to hear about baits that you got to wait 3 years and pay $400 for. Give me a
Gancraft.
Yeah,
Gancraft.
Okay, Gancraft 178, right?
Yeah, I mean, Depths 175. I've caught a ton of big smallmouth on a Depths 175.
There you go. There you go.
Swimmer. Yep, that's a very durable bait. It's a very true bait. I don't think there's any problem with the river to sea S waivers.
Oh yes, I agree. But you can modify those a little bit. You didn't tell me about this bait. I need to tell you. You tell me about it.
I don't know anything about the bait.
Neither do I. But why did I buy it?
Because you're a tackle junkie.
I had something in mind. It's really before in my brain. I was tuned into the high float, and when I saw the high float in action, I probably didn't. But I do like that color.
Yeah.
I do like that color.
That's the queen. I think it might be hard to tell.
It is the queen. It is the queen.
That's a queen right there.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The queen's a pretty bait for sure. But dude,
yeah. Matthew Weiber says, "Why did I buy it? Look behind you." You're right, Matthew. You got me nailed, bro.
Yeah.
I can't help
absolute
myself.
Tackle addict. Unbelievable.
Luckily for you guys, I can tell you about my shitty purchases and the ones that actually work, because you guys know my favorite. Somebody just asked me what's my favorite shallow crankbait for over grass. It's got to be the baby -1. I mean, there's some other little ones too, because I did put together a super shallow crankbait. That happened to be a double stamp, but then there's also that Lucky Craft, which is a bad little bitch. If you got my super shallow crankbait back, you got one. I can't show it. And then my Timber Tigers, man, my DC. This is the Aaron Martins, and that's the one I painted in Aaron's Morning Dawn. I did that with nail polish. I'm still amazed that it matched that good.
That looks beautiful.
Dude, TK reproduced it. And this is one of the TK reproductions, of course, which is a little bit cleaner and nicer, but mine with the Sally Hansen. And he hates when I put these big red eyes, but doesn't that look sexy as
it does look good.
F? And then I did the Margarita Mutilator. Oh, what?
That's impressive.
That's nail polish.
Hey,
I love painting my nail polish baits. I got to show you one thing. Hold on. This is for all you blue crab freaks. Let me know if you want to see this in a run.
The metaverse does absolutely glitch over all his tackle. Look at that. His screen is just losing its mind.
It can't take it. All right. So this is the DC1 Timber Tiger. They don't make it anymore. Arguably one of the most high float, best little shallow crankbaits. Roll it through wood, because that's the DC1, which I already showed you. This is the DC2. You can crank that through a pine tree and it will not get hung up. You can absolutely crash this through anything. They are ridiculous. So -1, the baby -1, which you guys know I'm an absolute freak about, has a lot of rattles. This one has a single rattle. But I painted the Maryland Blue Crab. Olive back, Maryland Blue Crab sides, a little bit of orange on it. Come on now. Come on now.
You had got me on a bite one time. You had got me on a bite when I was a little boy. I don't even know if you remember. You were like, Austin, they're eating blue crabs. And I'm like, what? You're like, I'm telling you, dude, they're eating these blue crabs that are like that big. He's like, you need to throw a jig that looks like a blue crab. And I was sure as heck did. And I busted their tail on the Potomac River on a blue crab freaking jig.
That's cool. And actually, TK painted some of these. So if anybody's interested in some DC ones, not the blue crab, not this one, the DC1 or the DC2, I have a few colors left. A lot are sold out on my Bass Lab site. So that's Bass Lab at bigcartel.com. It's on my Instagram. just Google Epic Eric's Bass Lab. If you Google Timber Tiger DC1 or DC2, I think I'm the first result on Google because I've sold a lot of them, and again, a lot of the colors are out. But if I can convince TK to paint some new colors, and this would be one of them that I would bring out, because I can promise you on my tidal river, I will show you, because I'm taking that bitch out and I'm throwing it. I'm gonna scorch them on that little thing. Baby little blue crabs are swimming around those grass beds, and those largemouths fire off on it. And down at Scooter on the Albemarle Sound, dude, there's crabs everywhere there. I've caught back-to-back flounders on pitches on a free range.
Are you serious?
Back-to-back flounders, and then caught a largemouth 20 feet away.
That's unbelievable, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I was watching Shark Week, and they were like, "Yeah, we caught 2 bull sharks," and I'm like, "Oh, in the Potomac River," and they're like, "In DC."
Oh my God, that's scary.
I know.
That's one of the, I guess, sharks that can live in fresh water.
It's bizarre.
I think a bull shark can live in fresh water for some reasons, like a
but even still, I'm just like, there's a lot of saltwater aquatic life. I mean, dude, I've been on Schooling Blues before on the Potomac in grass.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Dennis McNellis, the best color S waver's got to be that yellow trout, that brown trout.
The banana, they call it. Yeah, I think it's called light trout, and then they make one that's rainbow trout that has the chrome. But I also like the one Party Crasher. It has that olive green back, a little shad dot behind the gill, and then it's kind of iridescent chrome. So that's really good bait. I like a glide bait, so I like those. The first big bass I ever caught on a glide bait was on an S waver, so I ain't got no problem with it. I like an S waver.
No, that's a good, reasonably priced bait, right? Are people still modifying it by opening up the joints?
You don't. I mean, some guys
don't really need to.
No, I'll tell you a bait that's been inconsistent.
Yeah,
for me, that a lot of customers will get when they come on trips with me is the Arashi Glide. It's I've had some problems with them not being very true.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. You'll get one that swims really good on a straight retrieve, and then you get one that kind of flutters on a straight retrieve, and then you get one that's really good with a chop action, and then you get one that wants to blow out on a chop action. So I've been a little disappointed, and I don't know why they're so inconsistent, because they're
manufacturing,
ABS.
Man. It's manufacturing. Maybe, who knows? It's the weight suit. Who knows, man? Anybody got an opinion on the Spro Chad?
Hadn't even got my hands on one. I will say I have got my hands on one. I took it down to the river. I probably should have done a little swim video on it. I had it versus a Chad Shad, the resin bait.
What'd you think?
Hardly could tell the difference.
Wow. Were the sink rates any different?
I'm telling you, I could hardly tell a difference. I think the Chad Shad, the resin bait, might have sunk a tad bit faster.
Okay.
But I was also in a still pool of current, so it could have caught a random seam and pushed it or whatever. Sure. But I mean, I was like, wow, they really produced this bait in a replica manner. So
very cool, man. Very cool. Well, dude, this has been awesome. I'm saying it's like almost 10 o'clock. Are you are you good to wrap up now, man? Because I appreciate you. That's you gave us a lot of time tonight, man. Thank you, Austin.
Good deal. Like I said, thanks everybody. Just head over to the Dreamcatchers Fishing channel, subscribe to our channel. I really appreciate Travis for allowing me to be here and promote Dreamcatchers Fishing, and then fish tips. I think it's going to be a revolutionary business for a lot of guys. I don't think a lot of guys realize that they can make money on this app as well. So
Travis is still watching. He goes, 25 spools. Come on, man.
Yeah. No
25
doubt.
extra spools. Come on, man. He should buy extra spools. That'd be a great
idea.
I've
wasted so much line in my life. I'm like, this is the best way to do it. But anyways, guys, I am out. I was actually looking forward to Travis talking about some kind of doomsday or something, or some kind of conspiracy theory. So, but no, this was great. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Travis, for letting Epic Eric and I hijack the stream tonight. And like I said, I'd really appreciate you guys heading over to Dreamcatchers. We're actually doing a crazy giveaway too right now.
What are you doing?
We're doing a Ghost and Working Class Zero Citizen giveaway. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, You go to Get Fish Tips at Instagram, follow, and then you got to go to Dream Catchers Fishing on Instagram, follow, and then you have to tag 3 people in the post. But dude, a freaking $400 swim bait, and then some really hard to find Citizens working class year. So it's like $500 value in those baits giveaway.
Just for following.
Just for following Dream Catchers, following Fish Tips, and subscribing to the YouTube channel.
That's right. And if you haven't already, there's only 56 likes on this. There's 121 people watching. Just push that button, share, so you can help Austin out, man. And Travis, again, thank you, man, for letting us do the takeover tonight. It was fun. Got my boy Austin on, man. We tore it up. Bait talk, bait sanity, all of it, man. It was good stuff, man. Good stuff, man. Thanks again, man. So until next time, everybody, we will see you on the water.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Hang out for a second, Austin.